Hello, trainers. Before we start the episode, I'd like to apologize for some of the audio issues. We are still trying to level up our mic skills, so please bear with us as we get better at making podcasts. Enjoy the show!
Welcome, trainers, to a journey down memory lane, where we play through each Pokemon generation and talk about our experiences. My name is Chris. I'm the normal trainer and playing Pokemon Blue.
My name is Sean. I'm the Pokemon Master, and I'm playing Pokemon Red.
And my name is Dustin. I'm the Pokemon Hunter, and I am playing Pokemon Yellow.
And we are known as the Trainer Trio.
In our last episode, we started our journey and went through Route 1, Route 2, Pewter City, and acquired the Boulder Badge. In today's episode, we'll be going through Route 3, Route 4, Mount Moon, Cerulean City, and acquiring the Cascade Badge. All right, boys, this is going to be an interesting episode to talk about because we actually got started.
Yeah, we're actual trainers now. We have a badge under our belt.
And I was very excited for this one because my Pikachu could actually be used in the gym battle.
It's funny that you note your Pikachu because last episode I caught a Pikachu. I talked about how, I'm not going to use Pikachu because I've used Pikachu in so many playthroughs. And then I thought about it and said, I need something to beat Misty. So definitely added that Pikachu to my team.
And we'll definitely be talking probably about this later on in the episode, but we still encounter quite a few Geodudes and Onixes later on of trainers that just have those type of Pokemon. And every time I encounter them, I always had a challenge still. So I still haven't really been in that hump of buying against rock type Pokemon.
I mean, I guess we could just start talking about our experience on Route 3, which I noted that there are more trainers than I remember just getting in the very beginning of Route 3, which I guess I don't know if this is just my faulty memory or if it's different, because then again, it's been a while since I played Pokemon Yellow, so my memory is probably more grounded in like Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green. But I don't know, I felt like there's a lot of trainers just in the very beginning of Route 3.
Yeah, Route 3 definitely had a lot more trainers than I remembered, and also the wild Pokemon were really disappointing. Only had Pidgey, Spearow, and Jigglypuff. Well, sorry, in Red and Blue, that's all we had. Dustin may have had a difference in Yellow, but I definitely encountered a Jigglypuff at some point, and I knew to avoid it because that thing can only learn Sing.
I did not encounter a Jigglypuff, but if I did, I would have caught it, but it did not happen.
Talking about Jigglypuff, I never encountered a wild Jigglypuff. But have you guys faced the one last trainer with a level 14 Jigglypuff? How did you guys do against that one? Because that's the only one that actually wrote down notes for Route 3.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't remember the Jigglypuff that much, giving me too much trouble. How about you, Sean?
I just remembered when I was fighting that trainer, which I don't know if it's just Pokemon Yellow, but when it used Sing, instead of saying this attack missed, it said this attack had no effect. And I thought that was strange. I don't know if it's just a specific mechanic of Sing or Gen 1, but I believe I was using just my my female Nidoran, and I think I just kind of cleared it with that.
You know, I guess I had quite a different experience. I'm having quite difficulty playing this Pokemon game now that, like, I remember in the first episode when Chris asked us, like, did we beat our first rival? And I said, like, who could lose to their first rival? And now, just against this one Jigglypuff trainer with only one Pokemon, I almost lost to them, having a full team of 6 Pokemon. The reason being was that I would, like, throw out my Pokemon, and Jigglypuff kept using Sing and Disable, so I basically went through all of my Pokemon until I got to Metapod, which was my last Pokemon, against this one Jigglypuff, and it used Disable on Metapod, and the only attack that knew that could damage it was Tackle, so I had to keep using Harden just to make sure it would not die, and then finally, the Metapod's Tackle came back after a couple more rounds, and then I was able to beat the Jigglypuff. So after this encounter, I immediately went back to the Pokemon and bought some Awakenings, because that's what I desperately needed.
I one thing I did notice from this fight was the disable as well, because like I said, I believe I just used my Nidoran, and I started off just kept on using Scratch on it, and then Jigglypuff used disable, and so in the new generations that would mean Scratch would get disabled, but my playthrough it disabled. I think like my it was a Growl or Tail Whip or a move I didn't use, and that just surprised me.
Now that you mentioned that, I completely remember that. I went up against that Jigglypuff and I was doing pretty well. And then I switched moves because I thought the same thing. I'm like, oh, it's going to use disable. It's going to disable my move. And then it just ended up disabling a random move. I'm looking it up right now to see what it does in Generation 1. And it says, yes, the disabled move is randomly selected on the target's moves whose current PP is greater than 0. Yeah, and it says Generation 2 onwards, disable now disables the last move that is target used. This is another instance where Generation 1 is completely different than every other generation in the entire history of Pokemon.
That's just so interesting. They saw what worked and what didn't, and then they moved on from that. So it makes this playthrough much more fun because there's a lot of those little wrinkles that we don't remember.
Yeah, I was going to say that I went through all of the Generation 1, well, some of the Generation 1 differences in our episode 0, just going over everything. And this is one of the instances where there are so many differences that we're just going to have to find so many while we're out here.
And then so I guess, Chris, you kind of mentioned that you encountered the Jigglypuff here, but you didn't capture it. Dustin, did you add any Pokemon from Route 3 into your party?
I did. If you guys went to the Pokemon Center, I know for Pokemon Yellow, if you talk to a certain person, you do get a Magikarp at level 5. Did you guys get Magikarp?
I did buy the Magikarp for, what is that, 500 Pokedollars? What a steal.
So I was the only one who did not buy the Magikarp, which makes sense since I have Squirtle, so it didn't really fit my team.
Did you actually add the Magikarp to your team, Dustin?
We'll have to find out towards the end of this episode. He will come back.
And then,
you can go ahead, Sean.
I was going to say one other thing that I just noticed during Route 3, and, so obviously we've done a decent amount, not a lot, but still we've done a decent amount of traveling. I just realized that the route names or cities, it doesn't pop up on the screen when you walk into them like all the new generations does. And they're just a really... because I think I was going through. I'm like, is this Route 3 or is it called Route 20, whatever, like the other ones were called? And I'm walked through. I'm like, oh, it's not popping up. It's strange.
Talking about that, when you do walk into different cities, if you've noticed, all the city names are named after different colors. And originally, when the Game Boy released, obviously it was in black and white, so that's how the game was released. But now that we're playing it in color, and you go into each city, they actually try and incorporate those colors into each city. So that was something that they added after the Game Boy Color came in.
That is something I did not know. Thank you for the fun fact there.
And I wanted to mention one last thing in Route 3 before we move into Mount Moon. Did you guys talk to a little girl who said that she tripped on a Geodude?
I think I did.
Yes.
I just thought that was funny because later on, if you did catch a Geodude in Mount Moon, you would read its Pokédex and it says when you step on one, it gets angry. I was thinking wow, if this actually happened, then that means that girl had to run away from a Geodude for her life, baby.
Yeah, that's something I haven't done yet, is go through all the different Pokedex entries of the Pokemon I've caught. I kind of want to do that now because those Pokedex entries they're so old that there's definitely no way that they can still be considered canon.
It's just funny because I wasn't reading any of the Pokedex entries until I caught the Geodude. I noticed the step on, I was like, whoa, I have to read that again. And now, ever since then, now I've started, reading some of them, so hopefully we can bring some of those entries that really pop our interest up during this playthrough. And if you guys can tell just from, the Route 3 experiences I've been explaining, I've definitely started taking a little bit more notes and haven't really been speedrunning it compared to the first episode.
That's good. Now you're going to have so much more to talk about with it. Now that we're done with Route 3, let's move on to Mount Moon. The first note that I have about Mount Moon is that I swear I remembered that this was a dark cave, and I believe that they've mentioned Flash already in the game. So I was already thinking to myself, I must have missed Flash. I'm about to go into Dark Cave. And then it wasn't dark, so
I didn't remember it being dark, so I didn't make any notes on that because I didn't have that memory at all.
I'd also have to say the same. At least I do remember it taking a while, though, which in my playthrough, going up to the Cerulean Gym, this was probably the area that I spent the most time, because, again, for my party, I had a lot of trouble fighting against, like, Rock-type Pokemon, and a lot of the trainers did have Rock-type Pokemon, so I would constantly, like, face against one or two trainers, and then I'd be going back to the Poke Center right outside, and then coming back in, so that took a lot of time.
Yeah, I was doing the same a lot. I mentioned earlier that I added Pikachu. My Pikachu's name is Chonky. I put Pikachu on my team just to prepare for Misty, and also because there are so many damn Zubats, which I'm reading now that it has a 79% encounter rate, Pokemon Red and Blue. So I was encountering quite a few Zubats that I was just taking down with Thunder Shock and trying to train up.
One thing to note on the Zubat, something that caught me off guard was I had my female Nidoran going up against one of the Zubats, and they only know a couple moves, one of them being Leech Life. And from my memory, I thought Leech Life would be not very effective against my Nidoran, but it was super effective, which I thought was really strange. Is Leech Life, is that a bug move still? Is bug super effective against poison in this generation?
That's a great question. It is a bug move, I'm pretty sure. I'm going to look that up right. But I guess that's the thing, is I don't really use a whole lot of bug types. Yeah, okay, Generation 1, bug types are super effective against poison types, grass types, and psychic types. And then from Generation 2 to Generation 5, it is the opposite. Bug types are not very effective against poison types. Keep that in the back of your brain, Sean, that you need to forget everything you've learned about Pokemon.
No, it just definitely caught me off guard. I mean, not that it did any damage at all, because it's a terrible move, and it didn't, but I was just like, oh, wow, I guess that's strange.
And talking about Zubat, I also did read the sign when you first enter Mount Moon. Did everyone else get the chance to read the sign inside when you enter?
I'm forgetting if I did.
I did not.
I wrote that down because where it said the sign reads, "Beware, Zubat is a bloodsucker," which usually when you think of Pokemon, you usually only think about them battling other Pokemon. But now reading about like the girl tripping over the Geodude, and now Zubats are bloodsuckers, would not want to really go into Mount Moon in the real world because there's so many Zubats in there trying to suck your blood.
I love that. I love that they've incorporated real world elements and actually made these feel like real animals, kind of, just in the Pokemon.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. But somewhat on that note, there's a point where I was getting annoyed with all the Zubats. So I thought, okay, I'm going to go back to the city, go to the Pokemart, and buy me some repels because I don't want to deal with this. To come to find out that we can't buy repels. I don't know if they exist in Gen 1 and we just don't have access to it at this point in time, but I know I did go back there, wasted all that time just to find out that I cannot buy any repels.
I believe you can actually pick up a repel at the next city in Cerulean City, because I do remember seeing someone mention that later on.
Yeah, I remember that being a part of older Pokemon games, that the earlier Pokemarts only have so many items, and by the time you make it to the last one, it has the most items, which I think in the modern Pokemon, that is not how they...
And moving on to another encounter within Mount Moon, I did encounter another last trainer, which had a Clefairy. And it's kind of similar to Jigglypuff, where it had Sing, and would try and like make all my Pokemon fall asleep. But because I bought the Awakenings, I was able to use both of the Awakenings that I bought in that next battle, which greatly helped me.
That's smart. Did you encounter a Clefairy at all in Mount Moon? Because Basement 2 should have an up to 10% chance of...
I did, and the first Clefairy I saw, I wanted to capture it, so I did 2 attacks. It was just like 2 quick attacks. The first one took it to like probably like 75% of its health, So then I was like, all right, I need, if you're trying to capture a Pokemon, you gotta get it to like 50% or less. So I did another quick attack, and it's a critical strike, which killed the Clefairy.
Oh,
Yikes.
So I did not capture my first Clefairy. I did spend a lot of time in Mount Moon, though, so I experienced one other Clefairy that I did capture. And I guess just talking about that, what Pokemon did you capture in Mount Moon? Did you guys write that down?
I only captured a Clefairy. In Red and Blue, you have the option to catch a Clefairy, a Zubat, Paris, and Geodude. I had no desire to catch Geodude because we can't trade. Paris, I've never liked Paris as a Pokemon. And Zubat can only evolve into Golbat. There is no Crobat. So I just caught a Clefairy. I will not be adding it to my... Just because it was a rare Pokemon.
And I will say, I think I mentioned this in one of our earlier episodes, that I'm not, if I find a cool or rare encounter, I would catch it, but I'm not the type of person to, go out of my way to try and get that encounter. So I did not get an entire Clefairy encounter my entire time in Mount Moon, so I did not catch it. But I did have a Geodude encounter that I caught specifically because the Zubats were annoying me, and so I wanted to use it to help. And then also to just add it to my team, I named him Dude with an exclamation point, because I thought it was really cool that you could add exclamation points in their names in these earlier games. And I know I can't trade it to evolve it to a Golem, but the rock ground typing is just really useful for, since I have my star as a water type and it's super effective, or, electrics are super effective against it. So I thought, time to build up its defenses with my other supporting members.
Man, that is a very clever name. How did you ever think of it?
It just came to me in a dream, man.
And adding an exclamation point at that, that's just blasphemy in my game.
And it's the best thing too, because I never realized it until I added that. When you throw out your Pokemon, it says like the text says "Go!" exclamation point, and it'll say your Pokemon name with another exclamation point. So it says "Go!" exclamation point, dude, then 2 exclamation points. So they're really excited to see my dude.
Well, for me, the Pokemon I did catch in Mount Moon was all of the ones that Chris mentioned, including a Sandshrew. So I caught each one I could see, which was Geodude, Zubat, Sandshrew, Paris, and Clefairy. Because I am a Pokemon hunter, I like to try and capture every type of Pokemon I can see.
And of the ones you captured, did you add any of them to your main party?
I think when I beat the gym, the Cerulean gym, I did add Sandshrew, so they are currently in my party. For a while, I was using Geodude and Paris, but eventually I believe I got other Pokemon that replaced them.
Can I say at this point, my Rattata had learned Hyper Fang, and it is the most OP move in the early game. Because Hyper Fang has 80 power and is getting same type attack bonus for me right now. So I have this Pokemon now that has 120 power when everyone else is hitting me with little 30 power moves. It's the greatest thing in the world. And I don't think there's anything that strong in the earth.
Yeah, none of my moves have 80 base power or had it at that point. So it's definitely beating me.
And moving on to more Mount Moon encounters, I do have a couple more notes. I thought it was funny, one of the trainers inside was called a Super Nerd, which is just like a crazy name for a trainer. Just like, I am the Super Nerd, I'm defending this mountain.
So just one thing I noticed too in Gen 1 is that the trainers don't have real names. They're just Hiker, or as Dustin said, Super Nerd. Where in the later generations, they'll be like Hiker so-and-so or Super Nerd, whatever your name is.
There is a Pokeball you can also pick up that you get a TM inside. And I noticed during this Pokeball pickup that when you pick it up, it just says the TM and the number. It doesn't even tell you what it is. And in your bag, it also just says the TM and the number. So the only way to find out is you actually have to click A on it and open it up and try and apply it, which I thought was just very difficult to know what you're getting. So that's one thing I'm glad the later generations, of course, add the full name. It's way more user friendly.
Yes, it's so frustrating that, for one, you're right, it doesn't say what TM it is, you have to boot it up. But 2, each individual TM counts as its own separate item, so it's going to take up space in your bag. And at some point, you're going to fill up all of your bags. So then you're just going to have TM 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you're going to have to start depositing them in PCs. I took a head start, and I'm just dumping those into my PC already because they take up way too much.
And talking about the PC, I also noticed, like, since now I'm catching a lot of Pokemon, especially now that we've gone through 2 gyms, it's been quite annoying to, like, when I catch a new Pokemon I want to add to my party, I'll go to the PC and you have to deposit one of your Pokemon first before you even see what kind of Pokemon you have. And then you'll actually withdraw your Pokemon from the PC. And also in this generation, the Pokemon that go to your PC, they don't get healed up. You have to go to the Poke Center to heal them up afterwards too, which is quite frustrating. When I'm the Pokemon hunter, I'm trying to capture all the Pokemon I see. Cool Pokemon I want to add, I have to go through all this process just to add it to my party.
One thing I want to add, just kind of on the notes of the lack of information you get when using TMs, it's also somewhat like that just when your Pokemon learn new moves or the moves that they have. Like, the only way for me to know the base power of my moves is I have to actually look it up online. Whereas, the newer generations, when you learn a move, you could it'll show it in the screen when you're teaching your Pokemon the move, or at a later time, you could just go into their stats and you could click on the moves and see the base power for all the moves. But it's just, you don't have that in these games, which makes sense. When I was younger, I had no idea what moves did what. I just thought Hyper Beam was the best move of all time.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. In Generation 1, I highly recommend that you look up all of the base power moves, because some of them might be slightly different. For example, I'm going to be picking up Dig in the future, and in Gen 1, Dig has a base power of 100, and after Gen 1, it was downgraded to 60. So you never know what the power of your move is going to be.
Wow.
One last bit before we move into Team Rocket. My Caterpie did evolve into Metapod before Mount Moon, which helped me against that Jigglypuff trainer. And then inside of Mount Moon, it did evolve into a Butterfree, and this was my first time seeing the Butterfree sprite, and I noticed it is very blue. Like, the entire Butterfree even has like a aurora of blue. So I thought that was a pretty interesting sprite. And that's also one thing I'd like to mention that I found out later is that I think Chris mentioned this in episode 0, but a lot of the sprites that I'm seeing of the Pokemon do look more closer to the anime. So I'm not seeing the same sprites that you guys are seeing.
Yeah, I'm looking at the sprites right now, and that's one where they don't look too off. But I know last episode I mentioned coughing. I think both you guys should have encountered a coughing by now. Dustin's, yours should look very normal, like you saw like you watch in the anime. Sean, did you run into the coughing?
I did, and it has the cross and bones on the top of its head when I think it's normally supposed to be at the bottom.
Yeah, it looks wrong. It looks fat and unattractive. Like they didn't know how to draw a coughing, and then by Pokemon Yellow, they were yeah, that's what a coughing is supposed to look.
And something funny, I'm looking through the sprites as well, and I know, because I said in the last episode, when I encountered the trainer who had the sand shrew, how much it looks like a shrew, and I'm looking at the differences between Pokemon Yellow, Pokemon Blue, and Red, so I'm sure when I said that, Dustin's like, what do you mean, sand shrew looks normal? Like, you're crazy, because in Pokemon Yellow, it looks like a normal sand shrew, compared to Red and Blue, it looks like a shrew. Like, I don't know how else to describe it. It doesn't look like sand shrew.
And talking about that, I did encounter Kakuna too, and the Kakuna for me does not have arms, so it does look like a normal Pokemon for me.
Dustin just thinks we're crazy as we try and describe the Pokemon sprites. All right, I think it's time that we talk about Team Rocket. This was our first encounter with them. One thing that I noted is that each time you encounter Team Rocket, they have a whip and stuff like that. Because I remember reading somewhere that the original for Pokemon Red and Blue, they wanted to make the trainers look much more like actual tamers of animals. So, but what happened, I might be misquoting this, but I believe when it was released in Japan, a lot of the trainers had whips and things along those lines. But then when it got ported out to the States and the United States, they took away a lot of that because they didn't want to associate it with violence. But obviously, you still see some remnants of that with the Team Rocket trainers, as they all have whips.
I didn't realize that. Now that you mention it, they have the whips and stuff, they look pretty menacing. This is the first time I've ever played through this game and paid attention to why Team Rocket is there. It's like if you actually like slow down to pay attention, going after fossils, I kind of can appreciate very basic team in Generation 1 that is there to just make money, world domination, or whatever they want. They're not trying to do anything fashion related or go to the stars or make more water. This is just a very basic team that wants to kill you. And I can appreciate it.
I guess we'll kind of go into right before we get the actual fossils, I know from my memories of Pokemon Yellow that it's different than Red and Blue, and that, Dustin, you encounter very specific Team Rocket members.
I do. I've encountered Jesse and James, and that was pretty cool to see. I thought it was going to be a double battle for a second, even though I know there shouldn't be any double battles in Gen 1, but it's because they like introduced both of their names and like both trainers. I was like, oh, are we doing this? We were not doing it. But going into that battle, I did take notes on that specific battle because it was another difficult one for me where it went down to my last Pokemon, which Pikachu came in clutch. So I had to fight against the Ekans, Meowth, and Coughing. The Ekans KO'd my Butterfree, the Meowth KO'd 3 of my other Pokemon, and then the Coughing took out Pidgey, which was my highest level Pokemon at the time. So I usually like to save Pikachu for last because I don't want him to faint or then I'm like screwed. So basically, it went down to the wire. The Pikachu was poisoned and at 2 health against the Coughing. And the Coughing, is his turn to attack, and he missed his attack. So I was able to like take out their Coughing and survive just long enough to like heal Pikachu afterwards. Because also what's interesting, I don't know if you guys had any poison Pokemon, but if you do get poisoned, that Pokemon's still taking damage after you leave the battle. So you have to make sure that you don't faint, otherwise you have to restart.
Yeah, I know that was a feature in Pokemon for a long time. You guys know I haven't played any Pokemon since Generation 7. Is that no longer a thing?
It stopped being a thing after Gen 3.
Wow. I didn't realize. I've played Gen 5, 6, 7. I didn't realize that. Weird. And on your Team Rocket encounter, Dustin, I think that is kind of cute that they give Team Rocket their classic Pokemon. I'm looking at the roster, the move lineup. Meowth has Bite. You guys know what type Bite is?
Isn't it normal type?
That's right, because dark types were not invented. That Bite is pretty strong on a Meowth.
I'll take out half my party.
Sean, I have a question for you. We got a different Team Rocket in only Pokemon Red and Blue. Did you face the level 16 Kate that also pretty much decimated my party?
I do remember that. If I remember correctly, that's why Geodude saved me, because it had the Hyper Fang, and that does nothing to Geodude, so I just kind of had Geodude take him out.
And as someone who's a Rattata and Raticate trainer, Rattata doesn't evolve until level 20, so I don't know what this BS is with having a level 16 Raticate and how they're cheating. That is totally...
I mean, we'll notice throughout the earlier generations, there's going to be other trainers who cheat and have Pokemon way before than they should. I'm looking at you, Lance, but we'll get there.
Yep.
I wanted to... Dustin mentioned that he had a couple evolutions during Mount Moon. I have my Squirtle evolved to a Wartortle at this time. Are there any other evolutions for you two guys that happened at Mount Moon?
I believe that my Charmander evolved into Charmeleon in the last episode, because I needed something strong enough to rock. At Mount Moon, no, I did not have any evolution, although a little bit after Rattata evolve into. I also love the evolution screen in Gen 1 where it's just flipping back and forth.
And my main evolution line was just the Butterfree.
Yeah, after leaving Mountain. Oh wait, how can we forget? You guys all got your fossils right? I got the Dome fossil, which was already pre-on. You got the Helix fossil?
I did. Praise Lord Helix.
Dustin?
And I'll let you guys guess which fossil I got, since I can't use the Pokemon, but I still had to pick a fossil.
I had to guess. I think Dustin got the Dome fossil.
Oh, I'm guessing that it's the Helix. The Helix sounds a lot cooler than Dome.
Yeah, Chris is correct. I got the Helix fossil, because Helix does sound cooler.
It's because you're inducted in the Church of Helix as well.
And I really like water Pokemon, so even though I can't use it, I still am biased towards the water Pokemon.
I believe they're both water.
Is the dome? What does the dome also evolve into?
The Kabutops.
I never knew that Kabutops was a water type Pokemon.
I think you're right, Sean. I think it's a water
rock.
Rock? Yeah, water rock type.
They're both water rock in this generation.
You almost never fight against it in Pokemon.
And anyways, I feel like, especially in the early generations, because there isn't the physical special split, it's kind of not the strongest to use, because, water's obviously special, and I guess rock's physical. Well, I guess it just makes those Pokemon difficult to use in these generations, because you'd have to invest both in their special and their physical stats.
All right, so we finished Mount Moon, and you get exited into the eastern segment of Route 4. And Route 4 doesn't have a lot going for it. I know something that disappointed me was I remember very clearly from Pokemon Fire Red and Green that there are 2 move tutors, one that can teach Make a Kick and one that can Make a Punch. And I understand that's a bit redundant in Pokemon Red and Blue because probably have already picked up TM01, which is Mega Punch. But I thought that was a little disappointing because in that section now, there's just a rectangle fence with nothing in it, not even a hidden item. Better bet that I went clicking A around the aisle to see if it was a hidden item. And so the one thing that there is TM4, which is Whirlwind. And something to note too is that there are new encounters for Pokemon Red and Blue in Route. In Pokemon Red, you have a 25% chance of catching seconds, and in Pokemon Blue, you have a 25% chance of catching a Sandshrew. Sean, did you encounter an Ekans?
I did encounter an Ekans, but personally, I had no desire to actually add it to my party because, if we're playing Fire Red, I would consider it just because of Arbok gets the Intimidate ability, which is a really great ability. But we don't have abilities, so I didn't see, other than trying to use the Wrap scam that is Gen 1, making it an OP move. But I really had no desire to add it, so I did not add it. Did you add a Sandshrew or did you catch it at least?
I caught a Sandshrew, and I did temporarily add it to my party. I named Sandshrew Sandy, obviously, and added it to my party because Lieutenant Surge is going to be the 3rd gym leader and will have electric-type Pokemon. So I figured that was going to be my Pokemon to attack Lieutenant Surge instead of being a basic and picking up a Diglett cave. Oh, I was going to say real quickly, you mentioned Wrap. Are you having fun with Wrap in Generation 1?
It is. Okay, I don't think I mentioned... Oh, wait, actually, I won't get ahead of myself. I do have a Wrap story that I'll save once when we get to the portion of the Route 20, 25 route, or 24 and 25. So when we get to that, I'll tell you my Wrap story, but no rapping story right now.
And for me, I don't have any specific stories, but I do remember just like with the Viridian Forest with the move Harden, how annoyed I was. I was very annoyed on the level of Wrap too. There's multiple times where I just couldn't do anything and I would lose my Pokemon.
The nice thing is that you can switch out Pokemon, which I did multiple times. Like an Ekans or another Pokemon would start Wrap, and I would say, screw this, and just switch out my Pokemon and hope that it doesn't Wrap again. Because I'm pretty sure if the Ekans is faster than your Pokemon, theoretically could keep doing Wrap over and over again.
I guess I do have one specific scenario where there was an Onix that had Wrap, and that was just the worst case scenario for my team because I had so much trouble against Onix. Oh man. So after he wrapped my Mankey, he's the only one currently on my team that can deal damage against rock Pokemon. I just had to do my best with moves that literally dealt no damage to kill this one Onix.
It's the biggest pain in the ass. I hate Wrap so much. They adjusted that after Gen. Whenever we are done with this game, we have to experience that ever again.
Before we move on, Dustin, were there any new encounters for you in Pokemon Yellow and still on Route 4?
So I did not encounter any new Pokemon other than I did see a Sparrow this time, and I actually caught it because I didn't see it earlier on. That was my only new Pokemon I did catch. Along with, I didn't catch a Rattata earlier on either, so I did catch it here, and I do have the Pokédex entry, which is when you see one, it is certain 40 more live in the area, which is also another terrifying thing to read in the Pokédex. This means there's an army of Rattatas all around you, basically, and you don't know it.
See, this just kind of scares me for people literally living in the Pokemon universe. Like, it should be like, it's just surprising that people were able to conquer that world with like all these crazy powerful Pokemon that could probably kill people pretty, like, I feel like a Rattata could kill someone like pretty easily. And if there's 40 of them, that's like an army of them.
Did you ever used to get that thing on the internet that said, would you rather take on one duck-sized horse or 100 horse-sized ducks? Oh, I think I got that backwards.
That's what this is.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's pretty much everything I had for. Then you enter into Cerulean City. That is our fourth city already. Cerulean City has a couple highlights in it. You have the bike shop, which offers you a bike for $1. Yet there is these all took on it. There is a trainer, or there is a house where they're offering to trade you a Jinx or a Poliwhirl, which I thought was quite interesting. You cannot catch a Poliwhirl this early in the game. And lastly, you have a burglarized house that Team Rocket broke in that you cannot get in.
There was actually one other thing that you didn't mention. There is a house where the person explains to you all the badges. And something I just didn't know for Gen 1 is when you get a badge, it ups the stats of all of your Pokemon, which he explains. I believe the first one ups the attack of every Pokemon. And that was I didn't go through all of them, but I thought that was pretty cool that you get an actual benefit for obtaining the badges in these early generations.
Yeah, you're right. I went into that house and I saw that, and I noted that was really cool because, like me, you guys probably have played the games just like me and just rushed through. Actually go into houses and stuff, you realize that there's little in-game lore that they kind of try to teach you.
And I don't know if they do this in other gens. I haven't seen it before. Maybe it is because I've been playing quickly through other games too. But I thought it was cool because this is the first gen, so it's a good idea to give everyone like an idea of this is what happens when you beat each badge.
And something else to note on that, I believe there was someone in the no, I don't think it was a Poké Center, but there was an NPC I talked to that said Pokemon's obedience is based on your ability as a trainer. And I saw that statement. I was like, how misleading is that? Like, it is completely tied to your badges that you have. Like, you could be the best trainer. And I thought about that. And I wondered how many poor kids got confused there. Their Pokemon weren't listening to them. I need to be a better trainer. It's like, and then also, every single person in the Poké Center mentioned Bill, which I thought was slightly overkill, but I guess that makes sense considering you have to talk to Bill later to keep progressing in the game. So, good job, Pokemon pre-internet, for kind of mentioning that name over and over.
I mean, he's a genius, Chris. Obviously, you need to talk about him. He's a genius.
Yeah, he has a bunch of rare Pokemon, I guess, which I didn't see anywhere.
I guess moving forward, at this point in time, did anyone challenge the gym, or did you try and go up north to meet Bill?
I split the difference. I went north onto Nugget Bridge and completed Nugget Bridge, and then got very impatient, and then went back to the gym, and then went back and beat Bill. So I don't think I imagine you guys didn't do it.
No, I went up north first, and then once when I completed that, I went to the gym.
And I did the same method as Sean. Usually like to complete everything before going to the gym. Did you guys also fight against your rival for the third time?
Yeah, let's get into that, because I took some notes on that.
Let's start with Sean.
All right, so I went in with all my Pokemon at level 17, because also something I should mention, I know in episode 0, Chris mentioned about not doing too much research and going into this game, which we kind of left it open. I know Dustin shot it down, but once when I heard that, I'm like, you know what, it'd be kind of cool playing this and trying to imagine that this is my first playthrough and that I don't have the internet to help me through it. So I haven't been looking at like encounters or what the people's trainers, what Pokemon they have or levels they have, just to kind of keep it fresh and exciting. So I went in, I made sure all my Pokemon were level 17. I thought that was a solid level to have. And I just remember starting out, I sent out my Geodude, and then the rival sent out Pidgeotto that was level 18. And I'm like, shoot, is all his Pokemon level 18? Because then I'm one level behind, which, won't be too much for a Pokemon master like myself, but it would definitely make it a little bit difficult. But anyways, they sent out Pidgeotto, and my Geodude took him out real quick. And then he threw out Abra, which kind of scared me because I forgot that Abra doesn't learn Confusion until it evolves. So I had switched back into Wartortle, easily took him out, and took out his Rattata. And then his Rattata did some damage to my Wartortle as well, but still took it out. And then I used my Sparrow for his Bulbasaur, just pecked it to death.
And I do want to mention, just talking about looking at the guides. For the very first gym, I was looking at a guide. After we talked for our first podcast, going up to the second gym, I decided also not to look at any guides because I did have more fun doing that and took my time a lot more because I did enjoy the surprises and just it also forced me to actually like read all the text, trying to see like is there any hidden things that I could try and find here or there. But talking about at least my rival matchup, I had quite a few different Pokemon against my rival. He didn't have an Abra or a Pidgeotto. Instead, he had a Sparrow, and then at least the only one I could remember, which was Eevee. He still hasn't evolved it yet. But his Sparrow was level 18 compared to his like starter Pokemon Eevee, which was level 17, which I thought was interesting because also in my playthrough, my Pikachu was not the highest level Pokemon. My highest level Pokemon was my own Pidgeotto at level 15. That also meant I had quite a tough matchup because all of my Pokemon are quite underleveled again against this trainer.
Did you end up winning your rival fight?
I did. I'm still going to hold true. I can't lose to my rival once on this playthrough. Otherwise, I've given up on Pokemon. So that's the one thing I'm going to try and do.
Yeah, you have to restart your game if you lose.
I'll do my best.
I think it's kind of funny that your rival has an Abra because in Red and Blue, you can catch an Abra just north of Nugget Bridge. And so I like to believe that my rival, whose name is Poo Poo, let's not forget. I like to believe that Poo Poo went in and caught an Abra and thought, oh my gosh, this is like the coolest, rarest Pokemon. And then learned that it's a piece of crap that can only lose teleport. I think he ends up holding on. But that's what I like to think, is that he realized that he had. So Pidgeotto was sent out for me level 18, or rival sent out Pidgeotto level 18. That also surprised me, but I got to start with Chonkers the Pikachu, which I thought would be an easy one-hit kill, but going up against an evolved level 18 Pokemon, I got a couple hits in, but totally took it. And then after that, I was able to regain. I put in my Charmeleon, who took out Pidgeotto and Rattata. It was already close to level. I think it was already level 20 at this. For Abra, I know it has a high special stat, so I switched out to Rattata, my Rattata, which had Hyper Fang. Got rid of Abra, chewed through Squirtle as well. It's having an 120 power move. Moving on to Nugget Bridge. I don't remember there being a lot. I thought that Nugget Bridge was going to be a lot harder than it was. I don't believe any of the trainers really gave.
Maybe not trouble in the battling sense, but in the annoying sense, yes. The fact that they're each just zigzag, so you have to keep like battling each one over and over. So there are quite a few times. I think I had to go to the Poke Center twice, just in between those battles. It does look like, just hearing from Sean's encounters, he's having like all his Pokemon being equal level, pretty good levels. Right now, it seems like my Pokemon are like way under level each encounter I face.
I usually let my starter. I always like my starter to be 2 or 3 levels ahead of the rest of my team.
Yeah, that's just the way I've always played Pokemon. Is I always like to have all my Pokemon around the similar level and all of them strong. So that's why I don't necessarily catch a lot of Pokemon or add them to my team, because I have that compulsive order where I need to have them all be useful and strong. But yeah, so that's always you'll see that as a running theme throughout all of these episodes.
Oh man, it does look like I have just the opposite playthrough because so far Pikachu still, even after the second gym, is not my highest level Pokemon.
Ow.
I know against the water gym, he was the MVP of the water gym. He still wasn't. You guys will find out soon. We'll get to I don't want to spoil it yet, who my highest level Pokemon is. But I thought it was quite fitting for the prize of being the Nugget Bridge. Do you guys remember what the prize was?
I thought it was a bridge.
Come on, Chris. Who wins the bridge?
You're so stupid.
Otherwise, I also thought it was interesting because the final trainer that you fight against asks if you want to join Team Rocket. So I'm guessing all those 5 trainers were a part of Team Rocket that were just battling you, and they actually gave you a nugget for being them, which was kind of nice of them.
You know what the Team Rocket grunt says before you battle them? He says, I'll make you an offer you can't refuse, which is obviously a reference to The Godfather, because I'm starting to believe that there are some Italian mafia stereotypes here happening with Team Rocket. I don't know if that's just me.
What? I don't see that at all.
Wonder if other stereotypes of Italianness are going to pop up.
I highly doubt it, Chris.
After you complete the Nugget Bridge, in Pokemon Yellow, this is the point where you can get a Charmander. Just by talking to a person further up north from the bridge. When you talk to this trainer, they basically say that, like, they were not training the Charmander well, can you just take him? And I did get him, but obviously I'm not going to use him because we already have the Charmander of the crew with Chris.
Appreciate that.
Unlike, Chris there using a Pikachu when we already have a Pikachu.
Hey, come on, throw me a bone. I need something.
You could have used a Paris or a Bellsprout. Have you guys encountered a Bellsprout? I don't know if there's exclusive differences there.
There are exclusive differences, but I think that'd be a good time then to talk about if we had any other encounters. So I will just jump in because in red, I have a Oddish encounter instead of a Bellsprout. I don't remember the encounter rate, and I already knew I needed Oddish on my team to help me with Misty. So I caught it and I named it Weeds. How about you, Chris?
Like you said, the Pokemon Blue exclusive is Bellsprout. I did not catch Bellsprout. I encountered it quite a few times. There also is now a 15% encounter of Abra from texting you guys. You guys might know about an Abra for a very specific purpose. You guys catch an Abra?
I did not catch an Abra. I don't think I saw one in the wild in my game.
I did catch an Abra for the same purpose that you did, Chris, because we'll get into it, but I couldn't let Chris beat me by being the only one to well, I guess you'll find out.
Sean, how did you catch your Abra? Because I think I wasted over 10 Pokeballs on that.
Really? For me, it was very strange how easy it was. I had already caught my Oddish, and so I had that there. And I encountered, probably took me another 5 minutes going in the grass, and I encountered the Abra, and the first Pokeball didn't work, so I was like, oh no, this sucks, it's going to teleport away. But then its teleport didn't work for whatever reason. So it used teleport and said the moves failed. I was like, okay, that's strange. And then on my second Pokeball, I caught it.
Okay, I need to look that up as well, because I got that sometimes too, where I'm looking up teleport right now. It doesn't look like it has a chance to... Oh, let's see. If the user's level is less than the opponent's level, there is a chance that teleport will fail between approximately 10 and 25%, depending on the levels of the two Pokemon. And then there's some math equation showing that. Interesting. Unrelated, though. I noticed that was happening, but I kept chucking Pokeballs at it. It kept missing, or it kept popping out. I was getting really frustrated because it's only a 15% encounter. So I decided then, I said, screw it. I'm going to use my Chonkers the Pikachu and use Thunder Wave on it to paralyze it and pray that it rolls the dice and it's a 1 in 4 shot that it's paralyzed, and then I could use my Pokeball next turn. And I believe it was about 3 or 4 different times of it escaping before finally it was paralyzed. At that point, I threw my Pokeball and it caught first time after paralyzed. But one other thing I noticed was that I threw a couple. Oh, wait, no. Never mind. I'm going to get back to that just a bit later. But that's how I caught my Abra.
And what was that purpose?
You got me. Okay, so I caught the Abra to do the U glitch, which I'll go ahead and explain real quickly how I went about it. So I caught the Abra, and then there is a Pokemon trainer on 4, just west of Nugget Bridge, that is out of view if you're high enough. If you walk down a tile to the point where he can see you from long range, but you press start before he can actually see you and start the battle animation, then you can teleport away. So you do that, then he sees you, then the game gets all confused. At that point, your start menu is disabled. I believe your A button is disabled. So I went on to the Cerulean Gym to fight the first trainer because it was very important that there was a level 17 Shelter that you fight there, which also allows me to note on the AI of Pokemon. I had a Charmeleon out there, and the AI for Shelter kept using Withdraw because it was like, oh, cool. A water type move is going to be super effective against you. And it wasn't smart enough to realize that Withdraw will never hurt me. So that's good old Gen 1 AI. So at that point, I defeated the trainer, walked on to Nugget Bridge, and I got the encounter of a level 1 Mew.
So Chris, he had texted us, I believe, this past weekend saying, "Look what I got, guys!" And I just wanted to know. In episode 0, Chris said, "No glitches. We're gonna do just an easy playthrough here." And then he texts us saying, "Oh, look, I got Mew."
I'm sorry.
After I saw that, I knew I couldn't be one-upped. And then I also thought it's just really cool because I had never caught Mew before. As you guys may know, Mew is locked in Gen 1 because they never release any event for you to get it. So Chris, when he told us about the Mew glitch, he also sent us a YouTube video, which I followed exactly down to the last detail. And I got an encounter with a level 7 Mew that I caught, put in my put in my box, and will never see the light of day.
I can elaborate on that real quickly. So if you use Growl 6 times on the last Pokemon that you fought, so in that case for me, it's a Shelter. If you use Growl 6 times, it lowers the level 1 time each. So it went from level 7 down to 1. The way that experience is calculated in Generation 1 is not it's not equipped to handle level 1. That's why you never see a level 1 Pokemon. When I caught this Mew at level 1, it said it had over 700,000 experience points or something really astronomically high. I actually think it was in the millions. So at that point, all I had to do was send Mew into battle once, make sure that it didn't gain enough experience to get to level 2, and then at that point, the game looked at my experience total and said, "Ah, crap, you have so much experience points. You're supposed to be level 100. And so it shot up. So I have a level 100 Mew in my box that only knows Pound. Go me.
At the second gym. Wow. I'm strongly out here being low level against every trainer. If we want to continue one more, so after the Nugget Bridge, now that you guys have caught Mew each, I did not catch Mew because I like to keep it a little basic and like to capture Pokemon the real way, not the glitch way. But I do have one experience against a trainer who had the Machop and Geodude, and this is just, again, where my troubles are coming from against the Rock-type Pokemon, I guess Spine-type Pokemon too, where this trainer, he was a hiker, he fainted all my Pokemon but Pikachu left, and this was up against Geodude, so it's my Pikachu versus his Geodude, so I could only use Quick Attack, and the Quick Attack was only doing like maybe 5 HP, so if I wanted to win the spell, I had to use Double Team. And I used Double Team maybe like 5 rounds in a row so that it couldn't hit me anymore. And then I used Quick Attack 20 times to beat this Geodude. If I were that trainer, if this was an online battle and I had the Geodude and I lost that way, it'd be extremely frustrating.
Uninstall right there.
Who has Double Team again on your team? How do you learn that?
Pikachu. So I think at a certain level, let me confirm. How do you look at the movesets, Chris? You're the professional at this.
I can look that up. Oh, yes. It learns only in Pokemon Yellow. It learns Double Team at level 15. Wow, you get so many more moves than I get. You get Quick Attack at 11. I get it at 16. You get Slam at level 20. You get Thunderbolt at level 26. I don't get any of those moves. That is unfair.
And just talking about how yellow is slightly different from red and blue, I was looking online and I did notice that just against Brock's Pokemon, they actually lowered his levels compared to red and blue because Pikachu just can't affect him at all at that time. So you just can't, like, you have one Pokemon you can't even use, and that's your starter Pokemon. So I thought that was very fascinating. Maybe that's another reason why I'm having such difficulty. Well, I'll have to see which game is actually harder in the public's eyes.
Yeah, I want to say Pokemon Yellow is supposed to be harder just naturally, but I could totally understand.
And then I was also ring, so after you fight against Brock's Pokemon, which his levels are a little bit later or lower, I found out Misty's Pokemon are unchanged, so they're the same levels as you guys fought in red and blue. But then apparently all the other gym leaders are actually having higher level Pokemon than red and blue. So I'll be sure to record those levels so we can actually compare at our next gym. Otherwise, I did catch one other Pokemon that I did add to my party, which is a Venonat, because I want to have one bug type Pokemon and I never actually had him in my party ever, so I just thought it'd be cool to add him. We'll have to see if I keep this Venonat into the third gym, but so far it's pretty cool to have one.
Why do you get all the good Pokemon?
Because that's what I was going to say. I don't think me and Chris even get that encounter that this early.
During this time, I was training another Pokemon specifically, and I don't know the encounter rate. Maybe, Chris, if you can also look up the encounter rate on the Venonat, because during this entire training, I only saw it once in the wild, and as soon as I saw it, I had to capture it, which I'm glad it did not have the same issue with Clefairy, where I just fainted it, because I would have been devastated.
You have a 10% chance of catching it. And also, fun fact, on that route, you have a 1% chance of catching a Pidgeotto. Kind of useless, because you can also catch a level 17 Pidgey at 29%. Don't know why they programmed that one.
I was going to say this is the time where I had my rap story. Because there's a trainer who had an Onyx on the way to Bill's house. And this was, I had my Oddish that I was still training. And I think it was definitely under-leveled from the Onyx. And it also only had like half health. But I was like, all right, if I get like one Absorb in, I'll be at full health. And another Absorb, I'll probably kill it. But anyways, it was faster than my Oddish. And it just wrapped me to death. Because I think I went through... Because it doesn't say the amount of time that you're stuck in wrap. But I think the first time around, I was stuck in it for like 5 turns. And then for another 3 turns after that. And it was just done. And I was very frustrated.
So you lost to this trainer?
No, I just lost my Oddish. And then I took Wartortle out and water gunned it to death.
Because I believe I did mention earlier when we were talking about the wraps, that was the trainer that I fought against that had great difficulty. And I did write down the note that I did beat the trainer, but I was also down to my last Pokemon. So I've now had probably like 4 or 5 trainer battles where I've been down to my last Pokemon. Have you guys ever been that pressured to beat a trainer before?
That time I lost Oddish. That's only the second time I've had a Pokemon Fate in this run. The first time I think I mentioned was during when I was playing the first time I was fighting the rival when I was using my Sparrow just to use Leer tactics. But so I've only had 2 faints so far.
And I would like to mention this is coming from our resident Pokemon master who does play some Nuzlocke. So it looks like he's playing on the Nuzlocke tier. Compared to me right now, I've just been like, as I've already had 5 times where I've gone down to 1 Pokemon. How about Chris? How's your experience going with keeping your Pokemon alive?
I've been grinding quite a bit, whether it's killing Zubats or when I was trying to capture that Abra, I definitely was grinding a bit on those Pokemon. So I haven't been in trouble too much. It was just that Rocket Grunt with level 16 Raticate knew all of these stab normal moves just 1 time so far. I'm sure there's going to be a lot more. Moving on to the end of Route 25, there were a bunch of trainers there. None of them that really gave me too much trouble, but you had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different trainers guarding Bill for no apparent reason because it is the dead end and nothing between the house. No idea why they're standing there. But I breezed through all 9 trainers and got to Bill. I don't know if you guys have any.
Just struggling against that Onyx and the Machop and Geodude. That's literally 2 trainers that took me down to 1 Pokemon on the same route. So I was struggling.
I just had my Onyx rap story, but that was it.
So then you end up talking to Bill, which is a Pokemon, self-proclaimed Pokemon genius. He looks like a Pokemon from his overworld sprite, and then you end up talking to him, go through the little machine, transfer him back into a human, and he gives you a nice free ticket to the SS Anne. We have not encountered any port cities yet, but I'm sure that'll come.
I guess it will. I would also want to mention that I thought it was funny how Bill's like, oh, do you want to see my Pokemon collection? I have some rare Pokemon. And back in my mind, I'm thinking I have literally the rarest Pokemon in Mew, so no, your collection does not impress me.
And I would like to mention one difference with Pokemon Yellow too is that for Pokemon Yellow, you do have Pikachu that follows you around in the overworld. So there was a moment where when Bill is the Pokemon, Pikachu does walk up to him and like talks to him, and he just has like a little question mark box. And then after Bill goes back into his human body, Pikachu has a little shocked Pikachu face. So the first iteration of the Pikachu meme, born in Gen 1 Yellow, ladies and gentlemen.
That's cute. At that point, I just went back to the gym to go ahead and move on because I went back to Cerulean City and knew that there was only one thing to do. So with Misty being a water gym leader, I am at a disadvantage because I have a Charmeleon. But of course, I started training Chonkers the Pikachu. I don't think you guys have any fun stories related to the first 2 trainers there, or should we just jump into?
Before we jump in, there's one final thing I wanted to say about just a personal story about being in Cerulean City. I remember, so you know how you could see the Cerulean Cave and the person guarding it in the corner when you're walking to route up north from Cerulean City. I remember my first time playing Yellow. It's kind of hard to tell that it's a cave entrance, and from my perspective, I thought it was a guy with an afro that eventually you'd be able to talk to get like a really rare Pokemon or a really cool item or something. I never realized he was just standing in front of a cave entrance. But yeah, that's my small little personal tale.
And I guess I do want to mention one other small thing about Cerulean City I forgot to mention is there's one house that you can go into that does have a back door that leads you into a backyard. And when I'm in there, I don't know if there's actually anything in that backyard, but I was looking everywhere. I was pressing A. There's another like building that you could go into the back of, but you can't actually go inside. So I was like, why is this here? There's just empty space behind this building. So I probably spent 5 minutes there, which just results in nothing, just time wasted.
I'm laughing right now because, one, I forgot. I did the same thing, and I didn't write anything down about that, but that's because, yeah, I was so disappointed. Why did they program a backyard? And 2, that's really funny, Sean, because I never really realized that in Gen 1, but I want to say a year ago or something, someone shared that meme, and it either looks like someone with an afro or one of those guards at the Buckingham Palace or something, all hats or whatever. And it's so unfortunate because I'm looking at it right now, and it really does just look like someone with a tall afro.
Doesn't it? So that's what I always thought it was.
In Gen 3, it's a lot better. Like, it just looks like it gave him purple hair, and you can clearly tell there's a cave behind him. Gen 1 people, I'm so sorry in case you thought that there was no cave back there. I'll note on that real quickly, too, that I really like how they put Cerulean Cave's entrance in plain view that early on in the game. Like, you can't surf yet, you can't get there. But at that point, you know, you've noted, okay, there's something there. And they've done that a couple times. There's a couple tree branches that have been blocking us from getting items and cut yet. I really like how Pokemon is really making you backtrack in the early game.
Without further ado, should we go into our Misty tales? I think because the last time we started with me, because I had the easiest experience, I think Dustin was probably at the most advantage, so we should hear from him first.
All right. I did have quite an easy time throughout all of the trainers, the 2 trainers, and with Misty. I did end up just using Pikachu with Thundershock, so finally got Pikachu's chance to shine and really come out on top. And I did mention earlier that Pikachu was not my highest level Pokemon, so I will go through my Pokemon team. So I had a Sandshrew at level 14, the Mankey came up to level 15, Venonat level 16, Pidgeotto level 18, and Pikachu was level 18 also. So usually my Pidgeotto slash Pidgey was always the highest level, so Pikachu finally got to that. But I had one other Pokemon, which, Chris, you asked earlier, did I keep Magikarp on my team? Yes, I did. I got him to level 20, so he became a Gyarados. And that's what I was doing, a lot of training in Mount Moon and in Nugget Bridge just to try and get this Magikarp up to Gyarados. And it's crazy because you get the TM water gun, so I was like, all right, maybe I could actually give my Magikarp water gun. He cannot learn water gun, so I had to wait until he actually leveled up to Gyarados at level 20.
Fun fact, Magikarp can't learn any TM, so it's stuck with Splash. And in the generation, I don't think it learns Tackle at all, so just Splash.
It does learn Tackle at level 15, so it's pretty useless. Even with Tackle, the stats are so low that it just does not do anything, so I basically spent most of my playthrough, once I got Magikarp at level 5, I would keep him up front, and I would just keep trying him out, which maybe is another reason why I lost a lot of Pokemon.
Yeah, you have the patience of a god, my friend, because I thought about it and considered using a Magikarp and said, no, I'm not crazy enough to switch train like that.
Speaking about the switch training, I did want to mention that it is nice having this in the earlier generations, because obviously with the most recent generation that comes out, all of your Pokemon just level up, whether you're catching a Pokemon or they're just in your party. You don't even have to have them out. So it did require a lot of technique to actually level up Pokemon, which I enjoy, and is also making it a lot more difficult for me to play the game. But it makes me feel like I earned something. And once when I beat all of the trainers, the Magikarp did end up getting up to level 19. So he wasn't a Gyarados until I specifically I wanted to obviously for the Pokemon showdowns that we're gonna be doing, we're gonna be taking whatever our Pokemon team is as soon as we beat Misty. I wanted to make sure when I faced against both of you, I want a Gyarados. So that's also what led me to catching the Venonat, was because I just kept going to the Nugget Bridge little grass zone and just kept fighting Pokemon to get him up to level 20.
I hope you know that Gyarados is quad weak to electric.
Well, we'll have to see how he does in the battles.
Because I wanted to ask, just since obviously both me and Chris caught Abras. Chris, did you switch train Abra? Did you keep that in your party?
Absolutely not. No. Did you?
No, I considered it, but yeah, I already knew how overpowered Kadabra is. Even if you don't evolve it to Alakazam, still insanely overpowered in these gens, and I just didn't want to have it, too easy.
Yeah, psychic moves are overpowered, and it's a very fast Pokemon. And there's only one special stat, so the special stat is just insanely high. So it has high special attacks, high special defense, high speed, which is good for critical hits. Psychic's already overpowered, so it makes the game a lot easier, but you're totally right. It's almost too easy.
But then, so Dustin, your Misty experience just used Pikachu. That was about it.
The Pikachu did lose to Starmie, so Misty's second Pokemon, but I did end up using Gyarados because I had to use him at least once to win the gym.
Not too bad.
Congrats for your second gym. Chris, do you want to tell the story of your second gym experience?
Yeah, I was quite shocked because I remember from playing through Fire Red and Leaf Green that this is actually a pretty hard gym, but I was able to beat it on my first try. So Pikachu took down Staryu pretty easily. It got hit a couple times, but it was able to take it down. Trouble. And then as soon as I went up against Starmie, it used one bubble beam and boom. Kind of like Dustin's story there. At that point, I brought out Sandy the Sandshrew, And Misty actually used an X defend, which I read online. She has a 25% chance of using that one item at any point. So that gave me one turn to use a sand attack, just strategically. And then next turn, she uses Bubble Beam and dies immediately because it's weak. So then I brought out my Raticate, which was level 20 at this point. And so now at this point, I have a fighting chance. I have an evolved Pokemon that knows Hyper Fang. So I kept using Hyper Fang, and for some reason, the AI kept choosing to use Water Gun and Tackle, but it never used Bubble Beam ever again on Raticate, which I don't know why the AI would ever do that, but I was pretty much saved there by it not using. Yeah, first try.
And if I could ask, what was the level of your Pokemon team? And which Pokemon do you have on the team?
So my team started with the Pikachu, which was, I believe, level 18, just a little bit weaker than the rest of my Pokemon because I added a bit. Same thing with Sandshrew. I think it was just level 14 or 15. Totally unprepared for that fight, but didn't matter. And then I had a level 20 Raticate and level 21 Charmeleon, which did not go out once because it would have died immediately.
All right, well then I guess I'll go into my experience. I kind of wanted to evolve my Oddish into a Gloom for the fight because I didn't remember if Misty's Starmie knew a Psychic type move or not, and I figured if it did, I thought Oddish would get one hit by that, and Gloom could probably take like 1 or 2 hits. So I evolved it into a Gloom, and then during my Staryu fight, she started off the fight with an X defend, and I was very surprised. And so I just used a couple absorbs, got that out. And then also during Starmie, she used another X defend. And I was just like, yo, I'm using Gloom with only special attacks. What are you doing here? But anyways, I was able to take out both of them with just my Gloom, just using absorb over and over again. But then I guess I'll go into my full team. So I had a Gloom, which was level 21 at the time of starting the gym, and then I had my Nidorina now because it evolves at level 20. My Sparrow evolved to a Pharaoh as well at level 20, and then of course Wartortle at level 20, and then a Geodude at level 20 as well.
Wow, so you have basically a full team at level 20.
Yep. Now you know what to expect during these showdown fights.
And with that, I would like to ask how long or what was the time complete once when you beat Misty? Did you guys record your time?
I didn't record my time, but I'm booting up the game right now, and I am here to tell you that I am at 4 hours and 43 minutes. However, there's been some standby time.
Well, so I'm looking right now. My time is at 6 hours, 6 hours and 15 minutes.
Dustin, are you that high?
So at least from the first gym, I did complete that at 1 hour, so I was speedrunning it. But this time, I did take a little bit longer. I'm at 5 hours and 25 minutes. So a little bit longer than Chris, but not as long as Sean's. I did note that, so it took me 1 hour to beat the first gym. It took me 4 hours and 24 minutes to beat the second gym. So I am recording those times right now. And I would like to say I probably spent an extra 30 minutes just leveling up the Magikarp up to Gyarados. I spent a lot of time on that. So let's write down those times so then that way we could really see, like, just get some nice comparisons. Because it does, like at least right now, me and Chris were on similar time frames. I think it kind of reflects in our Pokemon levels since Sean, you did get like level 20 for all of your Pokemon. So that also counts for some extra. Let's just go over the times again, starting off with Chris, me, and then Sean.
So my time is 4 hours and 42 minutes, and my Pokedex is at 12 right now.
And my time was 5 hours and 25 minutes, and my Pokedex is at 21 Pokemon.
My time is 6 minutes and 6 hours and 15 minutes and 12 Pokemon.
Oh, so both you and Chris have 12 Pokemon, and I have 21 Pokemon. At least that's the one area that I can excel at, is living up to my Pokemon Hunter name.
Yeah, what do I excel at then? I'm not the best battler. I'm not catching the most Pokemon. I'm the speed runner. I don't want to be that.
You're the normal trainer, Chris.
You are the normal trainer. And also, I would like to say, I mean, you probably have similar knowledge to Sean, but maybe a little bit more on the mechanics of the game. And just, like, the glitch, you're the one that brought that to our attention. Sean, did you know about the glitch beforehand or how to do it? Or was Chris the one that, like, brought that to your attention?
So, I knew there was a glitch. And actually, this specific glitch... Fun fact, I didn't realize it was only in Gen 1. I remember hearing about it for Fire Red and Leaf Green because I remember specifically trying to do the trainer eyes but teleporting at the same time in Fire Red, which they fixed that. So I remember trying some iteration of this. The rumors were that you could do in Fire Red. Obviously, you couldn't. And so once when Chris told me about it, I knew I had to try it.
Did you get it right? Because I was playing on my Cube. I have the Game Boy player, so it was a lot easier to spam the start button on a game controller. Did you have trouble pulling off the glitch?
It took me one try because the first time I didn't get it, but then the second time I got it.
And then after that, the glitch is super easy. You just beat one trainer and then walk to a specific spot. I didn't ask you though. I mean, did you have any trouble catching Mew?
Not really. I know I tried beginning just throwing Pokeballs at it, but then it would just straight up miss, which I thought was kind of cool. So then I think I just did one scratch with my Nidorina and it got down to like about 60% health. I didn't want to risk a critical hit, so I just started spamming Pokeballs. I think it took like 2 Pokeballs after that, which I was pretty mad because I spent all my money buying like 20 Pokeballs for both Abra and Mew, and I ended up only using like 4 of them.
Do you actually know what it means when it says the Pokeball missed?
No idea what that means.
That is essentially the same thing as in the later generations. If you throw it and it doesn't shake one, they just said the Pokeball missed. That was just their way of saying lower the Pokemon's HP.
Well, I haven't seen that once because I am a true Pokemon hunter. I know, like, I haven't missed a single Pokeball yet, but that does make sense since you are capturing one of the hardest and most unique Pokemon.
Yes, that... I apologize for not bringing that up to you guys earlier. I was afraid that maybe you guys beat those trainers. And Dustin, there will be a chance later, I believe, in Route 8 where you could pull off the glitch. So if you are curious, that'll be your last chance to ever get a Mew.
You know, I'll give you guys the advantage of 1 extra Pokédex entry because I feel at least by the end of this full playthrough, I'm going to stay committed and try and beat you guys with the Pokédex entries.
All right. Well, let me just say before we sign off, there is one other fun event that you will be able to do next episode in our next section. We will be going south of Cerulean City, down the underground path, up to Vermilion City, and you'll have to go on the SS Anne. Now, of course, at the SS Anne, there is a small chance that if you do things right, you can surf to the side and go find a pickup truck. I'm going to leave that on you guys to figure out how you can...
I'm not going to find out how.
Legend has it that there is a Pokeball of a Mew. So, yet again, I will let you guys find out if there's a Mew there as well.
I have 1 Mew. I don't need a second one.
It is through legit means. You kind of have to manipulate things a bit, but we'll get there.
As long as it's through legit means, we will find out. And that looks like it is the end of our episode. Thank you guys for talking about your experiences going up to Misty. So looking forward to our next podcast episode, we will be talking about the 3rd gym leader, who of course is the man who fought in the war, Lieutenant Surge. Until next time, we are the Trainer Trio signing off. Catch you in Vermilion City, trainers.